the doctor is in, and hopefully the doctor will be here soon. But I am here with all of these lovely, lovely blesties. I'm so excited to have our friends here. And we're all going to celebrate Mother's Day on Sunday, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And we're all Blesstie moms. What a concept, right? So I brought these lovely, lovely, beautiful, beautiful Blesties together to just share stories about being moms and dealing with this disease. And I think we were all moms at different phases of our children, right? Probably,
Mhm.
I guess Toya probably had the youngest children when she was sick. Um, and Denise probably, and I had the oldest children when we were sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know, and Michelle's got to go a little early because she's got a hot date. So let's just go around and like share some love. All right. So why don't you, give your like 2 second version of your story and then say, what it was. Well, let's do introductions first, and we'll come back and do the mom thing. So Michelle, you go first.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Anderson Benjamin, also known as the Fearless Warrior, based out of New York. I am a metastatic thriver. That's my story.
Denny.
I'm Denny Knox, and I am out of Greenville, Delaware, and I am celebrating my 5-year anniversary of not having any cancer. So I'm
Great.
so grateful for that.
Great. Cancerversary. I call it cancerversary. I call it life.
Can yeah.
Your life
Woo.
versary. Your life
My
versary. Yeah.
life-versary.
And we should have got, so how many kids do you have?
I have 4.
4 kids, right?
Yep.
And Michelle has 2 kids, right?
19 and 9.
Yeah. And how old
Whoa.
are yours, Denny?
Well, now they are 26, 24,
Whoa.
21, and 17. Lakia's
Wow.
looking because she knows my kids, and I think she's thinking, oh my God, they can't be that old.
They
But
can't be that
they
old.
are.
Oh, wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Tantra, what's your story?
Hi, I am Sherelle Washington, and I am also a little warrior woman over here. I am 4 years cancer free, excited about that.
Hi.
And my type of cancer was hormone related.
Right. And how many children do you have?
Ooh, I have two that are biologically mine, and then my sister has two, and I feel like they're mine.
I love it. And how old?
So my youngest is 13, and my oldest is turning 16 on June the 7th, and she acts like she's 21.
Thank you. Toya, you're in the next box.
Hi everyone. I'm Toya, stage 3C triple negative breast cancer survivor. I have 3 little ones. I was 36 when I was diagnosed. They were 6, 4, and 1 at the time. Now, I have 11, 9, and 6-year-old girls, and they
Ooh.
keep me busy. Yeah.
They're busy.
Yeah, they do.
Akia,
Hi, good
baseball mama.
evening,
She's a
everyone.
baseball mom. All the way.
Hey, don't forget softball.
Oh, so okay.
Layla would have your hide for
Okay.
that.
Oh my God. Okay.
So yes, I'm a baseball and softball mom. I was diagnosed at 38. I have two baby giants. I have a 13-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter, and yes, they both play competitive baseball and softball, and I am in Middletown, Delaware. And fun fact, I've had all of Denny's children in my summer program. So we're connected.
Yeah. And
They're
I'm an
my kids
alum
too.
of the program that she's had my kids in. So
Yes,
shout
yes,
out to
I love it.
Fame.
yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And Dr. Reverend Denise.
Oh, I think so far it sounds like I may be the oldest. I am 69, staring at 70 come this August, and I am so excited. So was diagnosed with HERS 2 at 66. I have 4 adult children. My oldest is 43, 38, 35, and 30. And I'm so happy to be on tonight. I recognize because this is my anniversary month. May, I completed my 25 rounds of chemo 3 years
Wow.
ago. So
Awesome.
when I was
Awesome.
reflecting, I'm like, this is a great time to celebrate.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, we all kind of went through this at different of our kids of different ages, but I think for me, it was like my first fear was, well, how's this going to affect my kids?
Mhm.
And then are they going to get it? I mean, what would you guys say? Like, anybody?
I still worry about that. Having a daughter,
Yeah.
we know men can get breast cancer as well. But that thought still crosses my mind. That thought keeps me up at night.
Hmm.
Because I have metastatic breast cancer and it's a lifestyle now. Um, and I do. Absolutely, Ricky. That was my first thought. It's my everyday thought. Um, that's the hard part about this disease is that you never really get away from it. Even
No.
as a survivor, there's
Yeah.
survivor remorse, there's survivor concern. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
hard. And as a metastatic baddie, there's a little bit of the green giant that comes around when you hear women that are cancer free. And that's not your story. That's just being completely honest,
Oh yeah.
right?
You just read my
Mm-hmm.
mind. You just read my mind. I was just saying the same thing. Being metastatic, you often hear people talk about their anniversaries and their remission dates, and then you say to yourself, like, I'm really big on grief topics, and it's like that's a grief moment because
Hmm.
that's something that we'll never say.
Mhm.
But also, as a mom with a son and a daughter, like my daughter's 9, even, next Monday, she has an appointment with her pediatrician because I want to get her hormone levels checked. And she's starting to go into the puberty stage, and I want to check her hormone levels. I want to check her deficiencies. I want to, get testing on a lot of things so that she doesn't have to go down the road of birth control pills and taking, medication for certain things to deal with certain things that later affect her and hurt her in the long run. But even from a metastatic standpoint, I think it's a gift and a curse for any stage of cancer when you have cancer in general, because you are fearful for your children, but they're also your motivation.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the reason why, like, I have treatment Friday. They're the reason why, like, even though I'm like, I'm over this, how many times I have to go every 3 weeks.
Right.
They're the
Mhm.
reason why I'm going to get out the bed and put
And
my clothes
take.
on and walk out the door.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
They're my recommitment.
Mhm.
Right.
Every
Right.
morning it's a
Mhm.
reset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Right. Right.
I agree.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I
I
think
totally agree.
clearly my motivation was to get Haley graduated from college. That's really all I thought about all through treatment. You know,
Mhm.
I got it. Like I have a degree. Her dad had a degree. Her sister has a degree. Like I owe it to her, right? So how am I going to make that happen, right? Right.
And now
Anybody
she's
Mhm.
your
else?
boss.
And now she's my boss.
So you made it
So you
happen.
did your job.
You
I
did your
know.
You
job
did a great
well.
job.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
For
She's
me,
always been
my
my
mom
boss her
got
whole
sick
life, and I just
early.
pay her to be my boss.
Mhm.
Yeah. My mom took ill when I was very young. So my grandmother passed when we were about 14. I have a twin sister. And then my sister and I were on our own at 16 because my mother had a heart attack and a stroke and was legally declared incompetent at that point. She was pretty much bedridden and on a machine. She thankfully lived until 2019, but in a state where she was unable to care for us. So my biggest issue when I was diagnosed was I did everything to prevent heart disease, but I was not prepared for cancer because the conversation was not had in my home. And I didn't find it until after I was diagnosed that I had other relatives who did succumb to the illness of breast cancer. The flip side to that is I knew how hard it was growing up without my mother's presence. And that was my fear. My fear was, oh my God, if I'm not here and we don't really have a family support, because my sister and I had to get emancipated at age 16, who's going to care for them? So I had to get in superwoman gear, fight mode, and pretty much start preparing my 12 and 9-year old at the time to live their lives as if like they were a little bit on the independent side, learning how to cook and things like that, being self-sufficient while I took care of my own health so that I could be here for them today. and my case was stage 3. So it was very scary because, I'm like, how did I not know? And all of these things. But the bigger issue was, okay, I have to be here because who's going to take these brats if I go?
Right.
For me, I it you do feel that. You do think about it coming and or becoming a part of the legacy, not the good part of your legacy.
Mhm.
Um, f-
Right.
Both my great grandmother and my grandmother passed away because of breast cancer. My mother has
Mm.
not had it, thank God.
Thank God.
And I was diagnosed younger than them. And I have three daughters. Um, but also, my uncle had it.
Mm.
And so I, I, I guess I approach my day with looking at the fact that we do have hope. One, we're having these kinds of talks right now.
Mm-hmm.
And really encouraging women, men too, if you feel something, say something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they did not do, it was kind of taboo to talk about things that were
Mm-hmm.
not right, you know? And I know my great grandmothers, they said it was like the size of an orange, in
Oh,
her breast. And she never said anything, you know? And my grandmother was more concerned about like what the appearance of it was,
yeah.
um, rather than, okay, this is my season to do whatever I need to do
Right.
to live as
Mm-hmm.
long as I can. So
Mm-hmm.
it is my hope to encourage women to just really, whatever phase, whatever stage, whatever her you're at, to just kind of look at it and say, okay, where is my hope?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where is my hope line?
Yeah.
My
I think
uncle just turned 91, you know?
Wow.
So
Awesome. Awesome. Go ahead, Dr. Denise.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. For me, the diagnosis really came, quote unquote, out of nowhere. I had recently moved to Maryland, been healthy, and I just went in to have a test, have my yearly mammogram because I moved to a new state and I thought I would just establish a new baseline. And the cancer, breast cancer that I was aware of, that was on my father's side of the family. My mom had passed. I'm already older than my mother than when she passed. She did not have breast cancer. So I was aware of monitoring. So when I received the diagnosis, it was a complete shock to me, and definitely having daughters, being concerned about the BRCA test and what that meant for them. And I just had this wherewithal and this fight. I think the other thing that's so important that we're doing is having the conversations. As what's been said too often in our community, we don't want to talk about it. I recently lost a sister friend, and I think I had shared that with you, Ricky. She had LMD, leptomeningeal cancer. She had had breast cancer about 10 years ago. It came back, had just finished her treatment, finished her chemo. And this particular type of cancer feeds off of breast cancer cells and encased itself in her brain and then in her spine. And 5 weeks between diagnosis and in her passing. So I am even more adamant
Mm.
about making sure that we're talking and discussing. And the irony was very close, it's three of us. So when she had the cancer the first time, she never spoke about it at all. But then when I had cancer and I began to talk about it, I really used it as a platform. So when it came back to her the second time, she was open and began to be able to share what it was that she was experiencing. So even this very last cancer, she was the day that she went into the hospital, she was calling to ask had I had these type of symptoms, that I have this type of
Wow.
symptoms. But
Wow.
this was a different rare form of
Yeah.
cancer.
5 weeks, gosh.
5 weeks.
Did she
And
have
that's
kids?
the thing. It's like, how does
She
that
has an
happen,
adult
right?
son. It was just her husband, her adult son, and they were like, sewed at the hip. So
Mm.
we are in the process, of really just really ministering to the son and to the father. And I could share a real brief story. So I'm here in Maryland. This is my sister friend in New York. And the day that she passed, I told her husband I was going to travel. He said, well, I'm not sure if she's still going to be with us. But it was just pushed in my spirit to travel and get there. I got in her room at 3:35 and excuse me, 3:28. She was still with us and she passed at 3:39. When I
Oh,
got in that room, I was able to start singing and praying and holding her hands, and my eyes were closed. And when I opened my eyes, her son was on one side, the husband was on the other side. And I could see that they were checking her nose and checking the pulse. And I said, do you want me to get the nurse? And they said, yes. And I went and got the nurse. So I was there 3:25. She had
wow.
passed on at 3:39. So she waited
She was
all of
waiting for
that
you.
time for
She
me
was
to
waiting for
travel
you.
Wow.
to get there.
She
So
was waiting
just
for
such a
you.
sacred moment. And that's why this is so important to me that we are able to share,
Yeah.
bear one another's burdens, and to be so that no one feels alone.
Right.
Yeah. You guys, Denise is a fierce pastor at my church, at our church, and a good friend. Her daughter's
Oh,
good friends with Amanda. That's how I know. I knew her. Um, gosh, so talk. What do you guys want to talk about? Like, I mean, I think, that's our fear. Well, Amanda, she has three girls, now pregnant with the fourth child, but she had a prophylactic mastectomy. And it really got prompted. I mean, I've been making jokes about, okay, everybody's gonna have babies and we're gonna go out and get new boobs, let's make it happen. I've been saying that since I was sick, but one of her best friends got breast cancer at 33. And that's what motivated her to really take the action then, because she watched her get the mastectomy, go through the things, and their kids are the same age, and was actually Kyle, her husband's best friend's wife. And so their kids were always together. And so that's when she said, okay, I'm going to do it now. And I had to pull all the stops because she was 37 when she started the process. And it took 6 months to get a mammogram,
oh wow.
even with
I
all the
think that
connections I made and Dr. Mo helping me and everybody helping me. It took because she was 37. Um,
You talking
and
about Amanda or Haley?
Amanda. Yeah, we're talking
Yeah, it was
about Amanda.
ridiculous, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah, it was crazy to get through all the testing, and then finally we had to go through hoops. But now I didn't realize what a weight it was on me until it was gone. So she has beautiful, perfect boobs that she designed. She got resensation, she got all the things. I think her biggest regret, her only regret is that she wished she had gone a size bigger, but then she wouldn't be able to fit her clothes.
Yeah,
But it was like such a relief. I didn't realize that it would be so much of a relief until it went away. And I think that, we're sort of all in that situation. Like, what can we do for our children to help them never have to deal with it? I hope, and I guess Haley would do the same thing. But
it's
also, just
something.
go ahead, Demi.
I'm sorry, Ricky, for
Go
cutting you
ahead.
off,
Go
but
ahead.
I really think that there needs to be more attention to that with regard to being denied a mammogram. I can attest to when I went, um, I sensed something And I called my OBGYN, who happens to be a good friend of mine, Dr. Lashana McIntosh. And she knew the history of my family, so she was always sensitized to me. But so, of course, I went in next day, that Monday. I think I felt on a Saturday, I felt something. That Monday I went in. But when I went in, they were not agreeable to my getting my mammogram because it was about 3 months prior to when I should have one.
Wow.
And I called Dr. Mack. I called Shauna, but I called her, and because we have that relationship, but everybody doesn't have that relationship with their doctor.
Mhm.
It's very true.
And she was able to, let's say, look, you let her through. You let her get that. But
Yeah.
actually, the women who were in the waiting rooms started to protest on my behalf. They were like, what do you mean you're not going to let her get her mammogram? You know? So
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know how much more um we can do, but I think we need to figure out to because I think that's another roadblock.
It is a roadblock. It is a roadblock. And
That's
System is
gonna get
broken.
worse than it gets before it gets
Yeah.
better.
yeah.
And the thing is, well, there's two things. I was just talking to somebody today about the difference between screening and diagnostic mammography, right? It's not the machine, right? It may be a little bit more compression, it may be a slightly closer look, but in general it has to do with having symptoms or not. And so if you had something that needed to be looked at, it didn't matter if you got one a week ago, you should
Right.
still be able to get what you need, and doctors
Right.
should understand that.
Right.
And there should be a way to do that. But I think that many doctors are very confused about screening versus diagnostic. They don't know when to order the ultrasound. They're tired of fighting about it. The guidelines keep changing. And there's so much confusion in this space right now that it's going to get worse before it gets better, because they're
Yeah.
going to say, oh, no, we've moved to every other year now. So you're good for, you don't need to do anything now. Just wait and, wait a year and a half until you're due again.
Yeah.
And that's
All right, Miss
broken.
Kelly Clarkson,
Completely
superstar.
broken.
Yes. I was gonna say congrats,
I
Dr.
know.
Mo.
Right.
Yes, go,
Well,
Dr. Mo. So
congratulations,
proud of
Yeah.
gorgeous.
you.
I'm very
Congrats.
I
grateful
love
for
it.
the opportunity and thankful for the part that you all have played in this so far. I mean, yeah, we're just getting started up here at the farm, and so we're just excited to be able to continue to partner and grow and research and community and connectivity and all the things that we need outside of screening and diagnosis, right? Because
Yeah.
after that, right, 42% of people report pain, insomnia,
Right.
anxiety,
Right.
Oh
Right.
like
my
Yeah.
God,
there's
yes.
all these
Yeah.
other things
Everything.
that you're grappling with, after the cancer part is over,
Yeah.
it's
Or
so
not
much,
over. Right.
or
Or
not,
never ending.
never
It's
Yeah.
ending.
never
Yeah.
over. I
It's
mean,
never
it's
Never
just
over.
over.
it's phases to it. There's
Yeah.
and
Never
I'm
over.
I'm thankful that, I was able to go to, the Booby Queen retreat. And
Mhm.
if anybody's ever able to go to those, you definitely want to go because
We're
it
recruiting
teaches
right
you.
now. We're
Yeah,
recruiting right now.
definitely, definitely.
Um,
I want to
Um,
go.
I've definitely served up two people on this panel for
I
that.
know.
So,
I know.
but
I know Michelle can't go.
you
So
can
I have a
too.
question. I have a question. So we, some of us had family histories. Who didn't have a family history? Because I had a family history, but it never crossed my mind.
I never had a family history.
Me
Still
I
doesn't
either.
know. There's
and I
still
had
this.
one. My mother
Still
had
don't.
breast cancer, but it was such early stage. It never hit me that I was at risk until
I
I
didn't
got
have
home
any
from work.
immediate family history. So it's like, what do you
None.
do when you have like the sister of your grandmother who gets it or a cousin? It's like, does that mean that you're at risk for breast cancer? Is that a conversation you should be having with your children? Hey, your auntie on your daddy's side,
Mhm.
who's 3 times removed, had breast cancer.
Hmm.
So let's see if
Mhm.
there's a possibility or probability for you. I think that's a big thing. Another thing, I do have a question for everyone else. Um, I remember feeling like moments of helplessness throughout my diagnosis where, because in the heart of Mother's Day and being a mom, it's like
Yeah.
these kids are witnessing you go through this intense amount of treatment. They want things, they want to go places. For other mothers that may be watching, how do you deal with that part of it? It's like, what did everyone do to navigate through their own personal fears, emotions, discomforts, body image changes? And, I mean, for you, I'm sure, Toya, you having young kids, they probably were like looking at you after having surgery, like, what's that? You got tubes hanging, it's like, how do
Right,
you handle
right,
that?
right,
And also deal with your own discouragement, because it was not
right,
easy for me. My daughter walked in the bathroom one day and was like, and I started crying immediately because I just had my double mastectomy. My breasts were still like flat and I had tubes hanging out of me. And, I was so weak. She had to help me. My 12-year-old had to help me get out the shower. And I'm just like
yeah.
freaking out because I'm like, I probably traumatized her. She may never get that image out of her head. But it's like I was also going through my own personal trauma. So what do you do to navigate through that? And what Summer, you got the stories during the process of the changes to help
For
us know.
me, when I was diagnosed, I was 36, my daughter was 3, and my son was 13. I think one is you
Mhm.
have to kind of know your kids and know like
Mhm.
what they're able to receive and what they're not. My
Yeah.
kids have always been inquisitive. They always ask questions. They're always very observant. So I knew me trying to hide it wasn't going to work because they will
Yeah.
bust to the
Mhm.
bathroom door. They don't care. They don't know personal space and they ask the questions. They're gonna ask, especially Miss Offset.
Right.
She's gonna ask the questions.
Offset's gonna
Um,
ask the questions all the way.
Right.
she's gonna ask the questions, but you also when you see from the conversations their reaction, a lot of times, hold on, she wants to say hi.
Hey girl.
Hi.
What's up, girl?
So yeah,
Doing our
so
little dance.
yeah,
Yeah.
so another thing is when you see that they want to know more, share as much as you feel comfortable with and how much you feel they can receive, but let them in
Mhm.
because they a lot of times they want to help and they want to be a
Right.
part of it.
Right.
And we as parents, we try to shield them, but the reality is that we look at cancer as this like big, target. It's
Mhm.
really setting them up for the world that we live in and the
Mhm.
Right.
challenges and
Yeah.
barriers and storms they're going to go through, right? And them watching us is what they see as their mirror of how they're going to perform and show up in their own life. So, being able
Mhm.
to, pour as much as you can little by little and then seeing how they respond to it and then moving from that. Now
Mhm.
it's to the point where I'm 6 years in
Mhm.
and my kids know when I'm about to have treatment. They know when mom's going through the roller coaster ride. I start playing music
Mhm.
and have my own karaoke night because I got to recommit to going to treatment on Friday morning. But when you
Mhm.
allow them to be a part of it, they become more aware and then they want to know more. Like Offset goes with me to
Mhm.
conferences. Everyone in the cancer community know Offset.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
co-founders in my organization because at the end of the day, this is a part of their story. And from, just from the other
Yeah.
question, I don't have a family history of breast cancer. My family was heavy with prostate cancer. I'm the first woman in my family with breast cancer. I didn't have a lump. I
Wow.
just had blood discharge. So I do self,
Mm.
exams on myself every month, but I never felt a lump. I just had
Mhm.
discharge of blood. Um, and the reality of it is that there's so much other factors that can contribute
Right.
to our diagnosis. And the
Mhm.
fact that as a community, we have to have these conversations about everything because there's so many different ways. There's research studies now that how prostate and breast cancer are related. There's
Mhm.
mutations
Yeah. Yeah.
of
You could
DNA
have
and
that
things.
problem.
So, being able to advocate for yourself and let your doctors know, like, this is what's going on in my family, and then getting you a team that's actually going to investigate these things. There's genetic testing, new panels coming out all the time. The reoccurring of testing your tumor is important because it helps prevent the generations to come.
Right.
Correct. Correct. And I think to answer your question, Sherelle, that you originally posed, how do you deal with it? I don't think there's one way you deal with it when your children are seeing the effects of it. And there's no real blueprint on it. I mean, thankfully, we have resources now that, we didn't have then, like the Blesstie, sanctuary and whatnot that helps us with some of these real life scenarios when you're dealing with breast cancer. But my children thought I was, kind of like an alien when I had my double mastectomy initially because I had a flat closure initially. And so they didn't want to hug me. They thought they
Yeah.
were hurting me. And it
Mhm.
wasn't
Mhm.
until, and that really took a huge toll on me mentally, the body dysmorphia. And that it really made me realize, okay, the breast is what I was using to nurture and bond with them. And I also took pride in being able to nourish my children, because I took great pride in breastfeeding all three of my children while working in an ER. Like, I don't think people realize how busy I'm, like, not working in a little cushy
Right.
clinic. I'm in
Right.
the ER, and I was breastfeeding, and I breastfed all three of my children, and and I carried all three of them while I was working in the ER. So, so for, I'm like, I can do all these things. I'm like, I'm Superwoman, not even realizing it. Then,
You're
dang,
a
like,
superwoman.
my breasts get amputated from me, because it is an amputation, and my
Yeah,
kids
it
don't want
is.
to hug me, because they're gone. So, it's mind blowing, and there's no, you have to rely on your faith. You have
Hmm.
to, just keep telling yourself it's going to get better, but it is horrific. But at the same time, it is part of their story, like Michelle mentioned. And I'm not hiding anything from them. I'm not hiding, my lipid panel from them. I'm not hiding my thyroid function from them. I'm not hiding any of that, because I realize that one day I'm not going to be here. And I want them to, knowledge is power, right? So that's all part of
Yeah.
family medical history. And
Hmm.
truthfully, to be just honest with you all, most Black people don't really know their full family medical
No, they
history.
don't. They
I
don't
had
know.
no known first degree relatives with family medical, with breast cancer. Because in the clinical space, a lot of times we look at the first degree relatives, right? But I had no even extended. It wasn't until after I was diagnosed that I found, like, oh, some second cousin on my daddy's side who live in California might have had pancreatic this one, but there's no one close,
Right.
and so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we don't have the genetic traits or the family medical history, but it's phases to it. And it's
Yeah.
like, try to rely on groups like going to Touch Talk and going to TNBC Sanctuary for those resources, because I mean, it's not easy. And
Yeah.
it really is not easy when you have little kids to navigate through it. But the one thing I could tell anybody here is, like, don't hide it from them, because you want them to,
True.
have early detection, because that may save their lives. So don't
Yeah.
hide it from
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I
And
have
So
a different
Jarrell,
approach. Go ahead.
I
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes.
Go ahead. Danica, go ahead.
Yeah, Tandra, I feel like you gave a nice bridge. Um, that this is what I did. I wrote about it. I don't know if you can see,
Yeah,
but
it's
there.
kind of funky because of your background. You got to take
Oh
your
Your
shoot.
background
background's
off.
blocking it.
I
Yeah.
don't know how to turn that off. I'm sorry that background is there, but it is called Yucky Pizza. And
Okay.
this book is helping, it's helping to navigate when the adults in your lives get sick. And I don't think
Okay.
it's not it doesn't matter what age they are
Hmm.
that they are impacted. And my kids were preteen and teenagers when I was diagnosed. And the the cover is a little boy. I'm gonna come up when I come off. I'll try to get off my background, but it because my son I felt took it the hardest. Not that my girls didn't take it hard, but they took it the hardest. And Latoya, you
Okay.
were saying about hugging.
Here it
There
is.
is a picture. There you go. Yep, right there. Of the mom hugging the child because that became so key. That touch was really, really important. And when I was diagnosed, we were in a pandemic season where you weren't supposed to touch, you know? So I encourage us to really tap into understanding that there can be some guilt that the kids even feel because they don't really understand what's going on and they don't want to upset what's happening even more.
Yeah.
And that is what Yucky Pizza is designed to do. Is the first of a book series that I did, and I was inspired when I was bald. When I didn't know because it just kept feeling like for me, I was out of the woods and then they'd find something else, you know? And so I really do encourage the communication. But when you talk about the resources, I felt like it was my mission to add to the resources. And that's why I took to writing about it. So, whatever your um, area is, something that you can do that you can find, it could be doing crafts, it could be doing speeches. I don't know. But that was my stream.
Michelle, go. Yeah.
So
Great. Well,
thank you,
I put
Danica.
it in the
Wow.
chat. Yeah, that's so
Um,
cool.
I-
Tangerelle, you said something and it brought back a memory that I forgot about when you were talking about really an embarrassing situation with our children. So I told you I had an adult child, 28, and became so impacted, and everyone else was out of the house, and I was trying to give myself an enema, and I had my phone nearby, and I had to call my daughter, who was on another floor, to come down. So I'm naked. I'm on the floor of the bathroom in tears. I had an emergency number that I wanted to give her, to have a nurse friend come by. But I didn't even have time for that. And I told her, and I didn't have gloves nearby, but I had to walk her through giving me an enema so that I would be able to be okay, because I really thought I was going to
Hmm.
end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
So when you spoke, that
Hmm.
memory came flooded and came back. And Danica
Mhm.
had just sent Ricky. I also wrote out of this experience, and mine is called "I Don't Have Time for This," and it was three
Oh.
pillars that I have used of faith. I call it the facts: faith,
Hmm.
advocacy, and community.
Mm,
Hmm.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I'm like, I'm sure we all
Yeah.
have like all of these moments of craziness, that happen during the time because it's like, these kids are around and they're ours. So it's like, who's coming to get them? We have to take care of them. So
Who's coming
I
to
just
get them?
remember many moments of like crazy things occurring, and I'm just like, and even navigating. Another question I have for you guys is, it's how do you navigate their feelings? Because it's like we had our fears, we had our things that we were worried about, concerned about, thinking about not being present or just our inabilities to care for them at the highest capacity. Like
Yeah.
I was tripping because I'm like, if somebody ran up in my house, I wasn't going to be able to even protect my children. They would have had to cover
Mhm.
me. The doctor's like, don't try to stand on your head during yoga because you can fall, hit your head, and that's it. So it's like those silly things that we typically can do, run, play, and jump. We can't do it if we're in the midst of chemotherapy, radiation, and all of these high, treatments that put our body's
Yeah.
life and
Yeah.
everything, even our
Right.
minds at risk.
Right.
But these kids deal with a lot. Our
Right.
children go through a lot of feelings and emotions, and even though they carry the mantra of strength because of watching us maintain strength throughout, they still have these heartbreaking feelings and fears around if something happens. And then kids hear stuff at school. My kids heard things about people dying from cancer and associated cancer with death. And then maybe 2 months before I was diagnosed, their cousin, who was with us all the time, spent the night by us every weekend, her stepmom had succumbed to cancer. So the first thing my children went through was, Mom, are you gonna die? That was the first question I got from my kids. Mom, are you gonna die? And I'm like, you can't say yes or no without questioning yourself, like, okay, how am I not gonna die? So I was just curious to know, from all of you, what were some of the things that you guys went through in the emotional side with your children feeling a way about my mom has cancer. What do I do with this information and the things that they felt while experiencing it? I mean, even some stuff you may not know. I know my daughter is telling me stuff now about the time she cried, and then I remember my youngest kept coming in the bedroom at night and just watching me, like or being next to me because she was afraid, but she didn't want to
Yeah.
say she was afraid because she didn't want me to be worried about her being afraid. It's like there's all of these mountains of
All the
things that these
feelings,
kids
all
go
the
through. So I'm just
feelings.
curious,
One of the
about how you
things
guys navigate through that.
One of the things I can remember was when my daughter, my oldest daughter, because she always has felt like she's the second mama,
Right.
right? And a good friend of mine, Dr. Joan Coker, had
Our
a
good friend, Dr. Joan.
We
We love
love
her.
yes,
Dr.
Love Dr.
Jones.
yes.
Coker.
So,
Well,
our big
She
sister,
is
yeah.
amazing.
yep, Joan
That's how I
had
met Denny. That's how I met Denny from Denny.
Oh,
yep,
awesome.
that's how I met. But Joan had a heart to heart with my Tori. And she told her, she said, listen, everything you're feeling is valid, it's legitimate. But I'm going to tell you this. My dad got really sick when I was young, and I attribute that to this day to the fact that I am the good doctor that I am.
Right.
So
Hmm.
and I that helped me because it
Yeah.
helped me to see kids that this helps to
Mhm.
add to their character if we help them see
Yeah.
how to keep going, how to keep living, and how to keep moving through the challenging time.
So, you're
Right.
Tori's mom?
I'm Tori's
Oh my
mom.
goodness, I have been talking to her and texting with her and encouraging her, and I did not know that. I've been
Yep,
she and
yep.
I have been yep. Wow.
I'm Tori's mom, and like she's thinking she might want to be an OBGYN now. I'm getting teary-eyed.
Oh my
But
goodness.
it is like she's third year medical school. And I get you. I'm telling you, every emotion you can think. You get mad one day, and
Mhm.
then then you're like feeling free, and then something comes to your mind and you got to combat it. But I'm telling you, don't discount what God is doing, the work that He's doing.
You're right.
It's like His setbacks are our stepping stools, and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
no different with
Yeah.
with our kids.
I
Right.
tell my patients the same thing, like the kids are going to be okay. But what it speaks to is the power of actually sharing your story so you can defy those narratives, right? Because if that's what they're seeing and that's what they're hearing, and if they go online and that's what they Google, now there's a sanctuary for things like TNBC. But I mean, you look things up and it looks very, very bleak for Black women.
And
And I
morbid.
think that it's so important for you to show your resilience, for you to show how to navigate difficult times. And again, why is so important for us not to try to do this alone. And we feel like we don't want to be a burden, so we're not going to tell our children all the time. And I understand why. I do. I get it. And there may come a time when you do choose to navigate that. Everything isn't for everybody at that time.
Hmm.
But at some point, being able to share some of that gives them
Yeah.
examples of
Yeah.
something that is so important for them to learn in life. And we get resilience through obstacles, through challenges. And so
Yeah.
they have to see that. Otherwise, when challenges happen in their life, they don't know how to navigate them because we never modeled that particular thing, trying to
That's
be
right.
strong,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I think
Mm-hmm.
too, is that going back to the original question, and that's great you said that, Dr. Mo. Tanshirel, like, I had to get I made sure my kids had therapy. They still go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure they know how to pray. I'm not the most
Mm-hmm.
religious person, but I am spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Right.
know when mommy is listening to her gospel, they know they're gonna listen too. They know that we getting our
Mm-hmm.
word through the gospel. They know, okay, if we sitting outside in the sun, like we're recognizing, God. So those are things I think that you just have to have some whatever your faith is, having that faith base in your
Mm-hmm.
children, and also too, as much as we want to protect our children from everything, like you said, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Knox, like as much as we want to,
Yes.
we really can't because that's
Yeah.
just the world we live in. But one thing, if I die tomorrow or whenever I die, one thing that in anything that with your children, if something happens to your kids or whatever it may be, kids remember what the parent did. They may, like,
That's
so if
They
true.
showed
something
up.
traumatic happens to them, it happened. The trauma happened.
Yep.
But what did my mama do to protect me after that? Or did she do something to fix it or to address it or whatever? Whatever it may be, like they remember what you did to try to fix it. It may not be, I'll give an example. It may not be, let's say your kid calls you and they say, okay, this big hairy man just beat him up or something like that. Like, yeah, it's gonna be trauma from the assault happening, but what did my mama do to show up for me? That's what resonates with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think
if we
Yeah,
just lay down and not go to chemo and just say we're not going to do anything, we're not going to fight, we're
right.
not going to continue to show up for their events and things like that, that they'll remember your absence. But if they remember your presence more, that's the greater effect. And that also helped. I know we're talking about books, but that also helped me, after the fact. It took me a while, but that's why I wrote the book through Jai's eyes, my oldest daughter. When life gives you lemons, make pink lemonade. So you got these lemons, so let's just lemonade it the best way we
Yeah,
can through the
yeah,
eyes of my children at the time that I was going through this, and
yeah,
it teaches them it's all about resilience, strength, hope, courage, all of those things. So
yeah.
that's my two
Put your
cents
book
on
on.
it.
I'll put your book on too. We
Oh,
know,
yeah.
my Haley's dad, my husband, made me lie to Haley. She was
I
with
like
me.
that. My husband.
Was been.
Um, um, she
Haley's clone, like
yeah.
Haley acts just like her dad. Oh
I
my
know.
God.
Oh
No, please
my
don't say that. No, she
God.
doesn't. No, she
Oh
doesn't.
yes,
Oh
she
my
does.
he said,
God.
no, she
Yes,
She
she
doesn't.
has some sense,
does.
but no, she was with me when I got diagnosed because we went to the gynae together, and that's
Mhm.
when the doctor found my lump. But we went for like I was rushing to get her back to school and whatever. So she went through, and then I had the biopsy, and then I took her back to Dartmouth to go to sophomore year, and so literally I found out when I was leaving her. That's when my doctor called me, but then but even then I didn't know what triple negative was, and so her dad didn't want me to tell her had the severity of my cancer. So she knew I had breast cancer, but she didn't know what triple negative was about. I didn't tell her anything until when she came home for Thanksgiving, and I was like in the toilet, like it was like
Mhm.
I had just after I had my surgery, it was really, really bad. And so when she came and saw me in the state, she freaked out and she didn't leave. She stayed home. She didn't go back to school
Mm.
until I finished chemo.
Yeah.
I mean, she took a semester off, and luckily Dartmouth had year-round school, and she was able to take a term off with me, but she wouldn't leave my side at that point. And Amanda was working in the Obama White House. So she had this crazy job
Mhm.
working in the White House, but so she couldn't really come home, but she was on every doctor's appointment. She would we conference
Mhm.
called in. And so literally by the time we got to the car after the doctor's appointment, she had already Googled everything the doctor said and had like pages
Mhm.
of notes for us to print out when we got home.
Oh wow.
Uh,
That
but
sounds
um,
like my
but that
career.
was her way of dealing with it.
Mhm.
But Haley became my caregiver because she didn't trust anyone in the family to not tell her what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that the word that comes as you share that is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Take the facade off and be
Mhm.
vulnerable. I had the 25 treatments, chemo, and I would have to say 1 to 10 was tolerable, but
Yeah.
between 10 and 16, 17, I had to have a talk with Jesus myself because
Mhm.
my husband, as soon as he heard cancer, he just said, "You're dying." That's how he
Right.
dealt with it.
Right. Right.
My
Right.
my
Mhm.
children spoke with
They
one
check out.
another, but I had a son pro positive like me. But when I got in that middle of that chemo treatment, I had to go back to him and say to him, listen, we
Yeah.
may have to be realistic. I don't think God is calling me home, but if he is, how do we deal with that? So I think
Right.
that vulnerability is very important. And as you were talking about the books, you can put that one on also, Ricky. Walking by Faith. It's a
Walking by
family
Faith. All right,
devotional. Yes,
okay.
Denise Parker Lawrence. And it's helping out kids to deal with fear, anger, all of those negative. And there's a feeling wheel in there that they can identify and talk about what they're feeling: mad, glad, sad.
I like that. I do have
Yeah,
another question, you guys. I know y'all probably like she got all these questions,
I
but
know.
This is what
my
we're here for.
Bring them on. We love them.
This is what we're
I
here
mean,
for.
because I'm thinking of people who are listening. Because I mean, we've walked the walk, and there are some people who are paying attention who are going through what we went
Yeah,
through
yeah,
now
yeah.
and trying to navigate. So I just want to kind of touch on some stuff and let everybody share from the perspective of like this is what you may experience, and here's ways to
Yeah.
navigate through that. But I'm thinking about like single mothers who are either co-parenting or have like an absent parent. I had a lot of issues with that scenario. My has been, was been, whatever you want to call them. I got other words that are not so kind. He was actually banking on my demise, um, because he is pretty much where he is in his life and was anticipating a big cash reward from my life insurance policy to
Oh my
incentivize him
God.
to finally take care of his
Aha,
kids. So,
joke's on him.
Oh,
so I
Oh my
mean,
God.
look at
geez.
me now. But in the midst of it, I will say that my children had to hear the craziness. They had to hear him say unkind things and
Oh my God.
like say like I mean literally this man said to my children that their mother was going to die because of the way that I left him or whatever. When the truth is that I left him because he abused me while I was pregnant with my second child, right? But he has this thing in his brain where he believes that he's the victim when he was the villain. But the short of the long and all of that is the reality of the parents who are dealing with parents who are disgruntled or trying to co-parent in a scenario that's not co-parent-ish. The ways in which you navigate with the children, because the kids are in the middle, right? And they can't go to that other parent who is not really active to get that support of loving kindness and that your mom's going to be okay energy, because in my case he's waiting for the grave.
Oh
He's
my
over there.
gosh.
He's opening up the ground for me, so my kids didn't they couldn't find solace within him, and I had to deal with their emotions around the things that he was saying. And it was very difficult for me because I'm like ready to go fight, but I ain't even have my fist was barely lifting, right? So my question is more around how can we encourage women who are going through the single parentage position of treatment and balancing out life in treatment and also still managing the conversations with that person who either is a co-parent or not really a good co-parent. Like you said, your ex said
Yeah.
things that wasn't helpful. It's like, or wanted you to hide it or whatever. How do you address those issues with the kids and help them to be okay? One thing I will say I did was I told my children to remind their father that they are children and they really don't want to be involved in anything related to adult questions, concerns, or issues.
That's
I
good.
can't, I don't
It's
know,
hard.
I don't
It's
know how to
hard.
That's
handle that.
good.
I'm a child,
That's
and
really
I
good. I
told
love
say it
that.
just
That's
like
really
that. I'm a
Yeah.
good.
child. I don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Your
instead of
family.
them
Yeah.
adopting it in their brain, it's like, don't even let it in their ear gate. Just immediately wait, Dad. I feel like you're saying things that's too much for me to process. I'm a child. Just and my 12-year-old at the time, she was adamant about saying that I don't know what to do with this right now. I'm too young to. She would say I'm too
That's
young to process
good.
this.
I'm too young to
And
process
my
it.
little
I
one
love
just
that.
wouldn't.
I
Yeah, my
love that.
youngest would just she would just ignore him completely. She just
Yeah.
wouldn't,
I
she
love
would
that
just
so
tune him
much.
out, put her earphones in or something like that. So I just want to
Say that
encourage
now
parents who deal
myself.
with
It's
parents
too
like
much.
that to say,
Hmm.
it's not my monkey, not my circus. I'm a child. Please go address an adult
I
with
want
that.
that line. I'm gonna use that line. I'm too old to process this. Maybe I can
Right?
say that.
Listen.
I
Yes.
really think with
Oh,
any of them, with like whether it's married or single,
mhm.
I think it really helps to have other people
Other people.
talk with your
Hmm.
kids. I already brought up Dr. Coker, who spoke with my
Yeah.
daughter,
Yeah.
but it's also
Hmm.
like I know my
Yeah.
cousin's son whose mother
Hmm.
went through it, and
Hmm.
my son was high school football. He was playing professional football. And
Mhm.
he actually took my son underneath his wing, and
Mhm.
was like helping him know how to stay focused through the season, and just,
Mhm.
all those different things that nobody, he
Mhm.
could relate to him in a way that no one else, could during that
Mhm.
time. So try
Yep.
to
Mhm.
identify someone, if
Mhm.
that you think that your
Mhm.
child will relate to, that and that will help to reassure them the way that
Mhm.
is aligned that you are believing, right?
But you know what?
Yeah.
I
And I
think
think therapy
also
is good too. What Toya said, therapy is important.
therapy is
Hmm.
important. Therapy is
Mhm.
important.
Yeah.
But I think also other blesties and other blesty kids, like I know that
Mhm.
Haley's been
Ah,
able to
good.
coach other children, other daughters of kids, you know what I mean? I think that
Mhm.
because of her perspective on it, she was 19 at the time, which is old but still young, but I think that
Mhm.
even Amanda too, they've been able to like be a resource for other kids who are going
Mhm.
through it. And I
I
think all
think
of our
Yeah.
kids are probably doing that
I think
innately.
the same
Mhm.
thing, Ricky, can be said about um having other women that know the scenario and know what you're going through as other cancer patients.
Yeah,
I think I really, and I go back to the original weekend that we had at the
at
farm
the
before the
farm.
farm became the farm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I was few months into my diagnosis and treatment when and I don't even know how I got there. Because like I said, when I say I was a newbie, I was a baby in my
I
journey.
found you.
Absolutely. And I don't know how Ricky does it.
She
She
finds
has a
everybody. Oh, we find her. One of the two.
or we find her. However, and I think I did something with Unite for Her
With Sue. I
that
found you
paired
from
me
Sue.
with Ricky.
Sue brought me to you.
Sue
Yeah,
brought, yes, and we thank Sue for convening of
yeah,
that relationship. But having other women and other people in our circle, right? Because I think I heard Ricky say like this is like a very lonely sorority, right? You don't ever
Hmm.
want to, be jumped in, but you're here.
Mhm.
And you are with other people who have gone through the journey. And I think about
We didn't stand
Mhm.
online for this.
No,
no, we
we.
no,
didn't.
and I didn't pay no money, but I'm steadily investing dollars and cents
Yeah.
into this unique elite organization where but I know that at any point I could pick up the phone and call Toya and she may be in the midst of doing hair, cooking dinner, and she be like, hold on, let me get my earphone. What you need? You need to talk or give me five
Yeah.
minutes, I'll call you back. I can
And
do
we've
the
done
same
that.
thing with Ricky. I can text Ricky at 6 in the morning and she might be busy and she'll say, I'm gonna get right back to you. It's having the relationships that keeps us as the moms, right? Because moms need moms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
for
another
sure.
very
they do.
unique circle that if you're not a mom, you really I like you, but you can't relate.
Yeah.
You can't relate to the anguish that I feel
yeah.
about when my kids go
I
out
love
into the
that.
world
Moms
with
need
other
moms.
kids that are
I'm
super
gonna make
mean.
that T-shirt. Moms need moms.
Moms need
Mom
moms.
Yeah,
need moms.
moms
And I
need
think
Yeah,
mom.
about,
Yeah.
Dr. Mo, who brings her expertise. When I was there, my mother-in-law was going through a medical hiccup. We're not going to call it nothing more than that, a medical hiccup. And it was calming and reassuring because she already knew what was on my plate. It was like, do we need to get you
Mhm.
home? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? We as women with breast cancer, survivors, thrivers, whatever the case is, the circle is so important. And I think was one of the reasons why with everything I had going on today, I'm like, I gotta be on with Ricky later because I
Yeah.
was about to be like, I can't do it today. I got too much going on. I'm emotionally unstable right
Yeah.
now. But it's an outlet. It's an outlet, it's an
Mm.
inlet. Because this is a rough journey and we need each other.
we have
Yeah.
So I
Blessty love. There's
appreciate
nothing like
the
it.
continuing of convening
Yeah.
because Ricky will always bring you back to the circle.
Yes. For
Um,
sure. For
I
sure.
and
love that you
Mhm.
said that though, allowing yourself to feel and be how you are, because sometimes we do surround ourselves
Mhm.
with people whose positivity is a little bit toxic, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
And
and
it's
it's
like too much.
you're
It's
lying. You're not always this positive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
Like those, yeah,
okay
those breast cancer
not to
commercials
be.
where the woman's riding a horse on the beach.
Mhm.
I have
Yeah.
metastatic breast cancer.
It, it's not
Yeah, how
like
And
about
that.
and
right?
It's
listen,
not like that. And
that
I
is a
echo,
fallacy if I've ever
that's a
heard it.
fallacy. And I
Yeah,
echo what you
that's not the
said.
Yeah,
case,
it's
right?
not the case.
It's
Yeah.
not the
Life
case.
is really real. You're right.
It is,
And
and
I,
you need other women that you can
Mhm.
you can take your cape off, let your hair down, take your glasses
Mhm.
off, and says, "Listen, this is what it is."
right.
And
that's
it's nine
Eight
times out of
that's
ten,
the
regulations off.
community. That's the
I don't.
community part.
That's
Yeah.
the
That's the
community
But
community
part.
it's
part.
so unique and difficult for women of
Yeah.
color to find a safe space to do that. Not to mention Black women going
Why
through
is that?
breast cancer.
Can we
Why is
unpack
Women
that?
that?
of
I know
color
we
in
gotta go, but
general.
why is it
Why
so
is
hard
that?
for Black
Why?
women to find safe, brave spaces to unpack, to take off the cape and to just say, you know what, I'm not okay.
Trust.
Because we're
Trust.
Uh,
expected to be
Trust.
strong all the time. That's
All
why
the
the
time.
we're
expectation
expected to be
is not
strong
built
all the
on
Mhm.
time.
us resting
Hmm.
and finding a quiet space or other people that you can lay your
Mhm.
burdens down with, that you can trust that my deep dark burdens aren't going anywhere but to the ear that I told them to. And to be honest, Dr. Mo, it's because there have been so many occasions where that hasn't happened. My
Ooh.
trust, my safe space was
Hmm.
invalid. It wasn't real. It was built on lies. And what I was sharing that I thought was going to be locked in a vault end up becoming the next text message in the group conversation.
Oh man.
Mm.
And that's painful.
So
Yeah,
what are
That's
we
it
teaching our
hurtful.
is.
daughters? How do we teach our daughters to do better?
We have to build a space where we can be naked and
Mm.
not
Mm-hmm.
ashamed.
Yes.
Mm.
Say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
again. Say that
Mm.
again. Say that again.
Naked
and
and
not
not
ashamed.
ashamed.
Not
And
Mm.
ashamed.
that's the community.
Yeah.
We
Mm.
Yeah.
also
I
have
think
to
that a
let our
lot of people don't
kids be
think
able
though.
to let the kids express them. Tan Sherelle, you talked a lot about, you asked a lot about like the kids, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I had to come outside of like my norm in terms of like and
Mm-hmm.
understand like I'll give you a for instance. My son had been begging, wanted a tattoo, right? And you know, that just wasn't what I was ready for him to have. But in
Mm-hmm.
that alliance, that stronger alliance that he formed with his big cousin, you know, he actually has a tattoo on his arm that is a lion and it's a butterfly with a pink ribbon that's showing not only did I overcome, but he overcame during that time. I mean, so you gotta and that, people see it, they couldn't believe I let him get it. But guess what? It's been part of his testimony.
His
And
story.
so think about like when you're thinking about the kids, ask them, what will help you to feel better during this time? How do you want to express yourself? I'm not saying that I'm get a tattoo. I'm just saying
Mm-hmm.
help them to identify their story in the midst of this.
Yeah, and
Well,
they all
you
have
said
a
something
story.
really
We
important.
have our story, but
Mm-hmm.
our kids have a
Absolutely.
story. And
They
I had to
do.
learn
They have
that
their
through
own
Haley.
relationship with
And
cancer.
I had to learn it like now I can watch Haley tell her story. Like in the work that we do, she doesn't tell my story. She
No, she
tells her
doesn't.
story when she
Yeah.
talks to people. She tells her perspective. And so they do have a story and we have to let them understand it and embrace
Mm-hmm.
it and be able to tell it the way that we do.
Yeah. But they
And to
learn
Yeah.
be
it
able
from
to
you. They learn
express,
it from hearing you tell your
Yes.
story
Yes.
with
absolutely.
with
Correct.
your
Yeah.
pride and your badge of honor for the things you've come through, but with your vulnerability, with your fear, right?
Yeah.
With your
Scars
sense of
and all.
purpose. Like that's a common thread among all of you is such a
Mm-hmm.
grounded sense
Yeah.
of purpose and just deep commitment to making sure that
Mm.
your children are okay and that
Yeah.
you're being authentic, right? We're not just
Mhm.
I'm fine. I'm the queen of I'm fine.
I'm
But
fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
we're
I
not just
got it. I'll do it. I'll
right.
handle it. I'll
I'll
take
get it
care of it.
done.
I got you.
Nobody can
Mm-hmm.
do it better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say this last thing. I know this is because it's Mother's Day weekend coming up or whatever, but every day is Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Every
To
day.
me now, since my cancer diagnosis, every
Every
day
day.
is Mother's Day
Every day.
because
Mm-hmm.
every day is Mother's Day because I'm a mother and because I'm present.
I love it.
Good, bad, ugly, need my hair done, nails might be looking crazy, whatever it might be. one eyelash on, one eyelash off, doesn't matter. The fact is that they'll remember that I was present. I was there for their events, for their functions, whatever. They remember mama was there. So I'm gonna keep riding this mama trail and as long as God allows me to. So every day is Mother's Day for me. Um and you know, just like my husband was saying this weekend, well, I don't, he was feeling bad. Like, I don't know, I don't have all these plans for this weekend. I'm like, Jermaine, chill. Like, I don't care about the Mother's Day holiday. Like, you're the real MVP in this house because you sit here, you take braids down, like you rubbing oil on my feet, you making sure we got some chicken and broccoli on the stove, like wherever I'm deficient, like that counts for me. I don't really need the flowers I don't take really good care of flowers. They're gonna die
They're gonna
anyway.
die
So
anyway, right? Don't drink
that's the
flowers.
real things that I need. You want to do something for me? Write me a message, write me a note. It's better than Hallmark. So every day, ladies,
Is
as long as
Mother's
you are
Day.
here,
Yeah.
especially since we are thriving and surviving with breast cancer. Yeah, every day is Mother's Day.
I hear you, Toya, and what you're saying is something that I say all the time, is breast cancer has forced me to be intentional
Absolutely.
about my relationship with my family, my children, relationship with myself, and giving myself, the safe the space to say, yeah, I don't have it all today. Right. And being okay with that. It's
Yeah.
being intentional. And since my diagnosis and coming through and getting up every morning and look at the handful of medications I have to take, that I take intentionally because I want to be here, that is now my North Star. How am I showing up? How am I, being there for the people that count on me the most? And that's Christopher and Layla
And
and my
how are
husband.
you eliminating cancers that cause cancer in your life?
Oh, I
Hello.
cut
Get rid
people
of
off
all the
with the
cancers, the
quickness.
husbands.
Mhm.
I don't
See,
have
that's the
no
part
problem.
too.
Snip, snip.
Eliminating the cancer. Well, one, identifying the cancers.
Identifying them.
Right?
Because we make a lot of excuses for
We
Yeah.
toxic
do.
people, toxic places, toxic
Mhm.
churches, toxic relationships, right? But
Absolutely.
identifying them and actually letting them go. And that's why I put this question in the chat. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing with really protecting your peace, right? And with
Right.
setting boundaries? Because I think that's another conversation that we need to have is how do you actually say? I know people are, oh, no is a complete sentence. It is, but it's one of the hardest sentences to say when you're used to being the person who
Yes.
pours into
Always
everybody.
yes.
And you got FOMO and you don't want to miss out on anything. And you want to, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to say no. But we
It
should
is.
definitely talk about that because I feel like that's something that we don't really model enough until we're completely fed up. And then we're flipping tables over.
And
Like
then
how
we're
do we not
mad. And then we're done.
how
Right?
do
Then
we
we're
not get
done.
there, right?
The crash out. Yes.
Dr. Mo, that says it all. We have to set boundaries. I know for me, one of the things that I did with the diagnosis, I didn't want anyone around me with the woe is me. And, even though I'm a minister, I'm a pastor, right? That, God's going to fix this. I wanted to be live in the moment, and I wanted people around me that were going to support me where I was. In
Right.
chaplaincy training, we call something spiritual bypassing, which is where you just want to put, the God fix on everything. You want to be able to be alive in the moment
Yeah.
and set
Yeah.
your boundaries
Yeah.
and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to, and you
Yeah,
have
I
to be
like
okay with that. You have to be okay with
another
that.
Every
Dr.
day is a
Roseanne.
gift.
Yeah.
Every day is a
This
gift.
last
It is a
girlfriend that
present.
did 5 weeks from diagnosis to being brought home, every day is a gift.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Wow.
God, for the
agree.
gift of today.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you all for the gift of your time and your wisdom. Truly, like this is. I've been trying to put some things in the chat.
I
I was
know I'm
as you
trying
were
to catch
giving,
up to him. I'm trying to put
yep,
stuff
giving
here.
tips and stuff, on sort of what do our moms need to do, or how do you support, especially being a single parent during this journey, And I have find community, allow others to help you and show up for you, and let them know how the ways that you need support. Find a therapist, I heard somebody say,
Mm-hmm.
find your children in a similar situation so they can support and surround and uplift each other and be there for each other. And then somebody said, moms need moms.
Mm-hmm.
I love
I
that.
love that. Moms need moms. We need, and I
Moms
actually
need
want to say,
moms.
Blesstie moms need Blesstie moms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
I
put
think
that one
that's
in there.
I
Touch's
agree.
next sweatshirt
Blesstie
design.
moms need Blesstie moms. I
I
can
Yeah.
know,
work on
right?
that. I
Yeah,
got you. I
yeah.
can work on
Mhm.
that
Yes,
because we
let us
Or
do.
know
get
when the
you a
merch is
mom.
in.
Get
Yeah,
you a
Yeah.
get you a
I
mom.
like
blessing
that.
mom. How about that?
Get you one.
Yeah, get you
I
I
one.
need
just bought
somebody to
Amanda
Get
watch
you
Haley.
me
one
before I
a
catch
mom.
cancer.
Yeah.
Well, if
I
you
just
are
bought a
watching, right, go on and
Yeah.
go and find the person that you know that you love who's maybe battling breast cancer. Give them a big hug and tell them somebody said, go and get
Oh
you one.
my, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
ask
Go on
first
and
about
get
giving
you
him a
one.
hug.
Yes.
Ask
yes,
first.
please. Thank you
Don't
for
be
that.
just going
Give
around
him a
hugging
true.
yes.
people.
That is
That's
very
true.
true.
I
Your
bought
mom
Get
needs
you
bought
you
Amanda
more.
and
one.
Haley
Go on the
t-shirts
mom that you
today.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought Amanda and Haley
Right.
t-shirts today. They say, OMG, my mom was right about everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's a
Well,
whole nother
thank you.
conversation.
Yeah, I think so. I
And
think we'll come back with a part two with
yeah,
actually like what goes in the toolkit and how does
mhm,
that play
Yeah.
out and give us some examples of when it goes really well and you're like, you know what, I set boundaries and when it went really badly. And that way we can laugh about it, we can cry about it, we can learn from it. But people need examples of how to do that in life because, it,
yeah.
it's hard. It is, sounds easy, it sounds good, but how do we make
Well,
no that complete sentence for our lives? And then what
Yeah.
happens?
yeah, yeah. Well,
And stick
motherhood is
And
with
I
hard
it.
think
enough.
laughing aloud with your kids
Motherhood
too
in
is
itself is
important.
hard,
It is. Yeah.
And when I hear
Yeah.
other mothers who haven't been sick complaining, I'm like, you have no idea, girl.
Right. Right.
Not a
Exactly.
clue.
No idea.
Count your blessings, right?
Count your blessings. You have no idea, right?
Well, we count all of you all as blessings. So thank y'all for
Yeah.
being here and for blessing
Thank you
us.
so much. I love
It's
you guys so much.
yeah,
We
it is
love
just
you
too.
more.
You
Thank
know,
you.
know
And
it's been
happy Mother's
relatable,
Day
yeah. Happy
reliable. There
Mother's
we go.
Day.
And my
We'll to be continued. To be
mother.
continued.
to
Let's make
be
some heart.
continued.
To
To
be
be
continued.
continued.
To be
Thank you to our
continued.
sponsors and to all of you watching. Please like,
Yeah.
follow, share.
Yeah.
We do this every Wednesday night here on blackdoctor.org, and we're
Yeah.
so grateful for the platform and the opportunity to do it and to bring
Yeah.
all this realness and relatable and reliableness. You got people, you have a circle of folks, you have some people to reach out to if you need them, and they're all here in this chat. So
We're all here. We're all
yeah,
here.
we're here for you.
Y'all need to find me. Ricky at touchbbca.org.
There it
I
is.
love you guys. Happy
Love
Mother's Day.
Happy
Happy
Mother's
Mother's
Happy
Day,
Day.
Mother's
ladies.
Every
Day.
day.
Every
Every
day
day.
is
Every
Mother's
day is
Day.
Mother's
Every
Day.
day. Every
Every day
day.
is Mother's
Every
Day.
day. Every day.
Go
Love you.
get you a
Bye.
mom.
Love you, Mom. Go get your mom. Love you.